Good morning, everybody. Cindy here with Pathways Homestead. We've got a little bit of garden harvest this morning. We did harvest a couple of cucumbers and a couple of squash last night. We're getting enough out of our little gardens to sustain Gary and I, and that's our goal. We are able to preserve a little bit of our harvest as we go along. Some of the squash we are dehydrating and canning, so that's coming along nicely. This is our second picking of the yard-long beans. The first picking I pickled along with some of our first picking of regular green beans. These are our regular tender green bush beans, and we're getting a small harvest out of our 4 short rows. Enough for Gary and I. And so, you know, this snapped up be about a pint of green beans, which is plenty for Gary and I. So I have no problem using my carry canner to can just little bits at a time. The yard-long beans do not hold up to the pressure canning that is necessary to preserve them for to eat as green beans, but they do really nice as dilly beans. So that's probably what I'll do with these this morning. I'll add these to a half pint or a pint and do a little hot water bath canning with them. And these I will snap and do a little pressure canning. I don't mind doing 1 pint at a time in my carry. It's not that much electricity. I'm not wasting that much time or space. So that's what I'll do with those. So let's go on and get to our garden tour today. I want to show you guys how everything's doing. Today is July 3rd. So let's see how the gardens are doing at the 1st of July. As you can see, I'm using as much solar and natural air as I can to even dry clothes. So hide and watch. I'm going to start off our tour today with the raised bed Gary built. We have our Egyptian walking onions, which are doing well in here, and then we have 3 tomato plants, as well as a little bit of oregano, which you can't see because the tomato plants have taken over. So that's what's going on in this raised bed. We do have a space over here where we planted some pepper plants and they didn't make it. They didn't survive the shock, and that happens. They were too small, it was too hot, and sometimes that just happens. So we had an abundance of pepper plants, so it's not a big deal. It'll be okay. We're going to plant something else there for a fall crop. Here we have Gary's potato bed. Well, it's a potato tower, I guess you'd call it. And we have been harvesting a few new potatoes out of that. We had 1 plant die back, so Gary did harvest the 1 potato that was with that plant. But he was very careful. He doesn't want to disturb the other potatoes too much. Here we have our pride and joy. This little garden patch has been amazing. I'm super excited about both of the garden patches here. They're doing really well. So this first row here we have tomatoes and a couple of pepper plants. On the second row we have some marigolds with a couple of those tiny pepper plants that we threw in. And then we have some dill right behind the marigolds, some calendula, and some basil. Gary's carrots that we never got weeded, and on the very end are some 4 o'clocks that we got the seed from Simply Jan Homestead. Jan gave us those at the Growing Towards Self-Sufficiency Gathering. And then on this third row we have zinnias and zinnias. I say zinnias. And then we have some few more of them small pepper plants. We have our beets that need to be pulled soon. As you can see, the heat's getting too much to them, so they need to be harvested. We also have our cilantro that's bolted, and I'm going to go ahead and let it go to seed, and I'm going to collect the seed for coriander and to reseed for later. The end of that row is covered up. Well, the very end of the row has some more zinnias. In the middle between the zinnias and the coriander or cilantro, under those squash plants is a little bit of our blue kale, and it's slow to grow. We got a little bit coming on that's doing really good right there on the other side of that coriander, but mostly right now the squash is shading it out, but that won't be bad. That will be good. We'll have a fall harvest of collards, and that'll be good. They're blue collards, Georgia blue, I believe. And then we have our 2 hills of zucchini here, our 1 tower of cucumbers, and then our 2 hills of yellow squash. We have mentioned in the cucumber hills, squash hills and cucumber hills, there are sweet potato plants. And some of them are taking off and some of them are a little slower to grow. But it's okay, they're coming along. This is our bean row. We have willow leaf lima beans on both sides of this trellis in this first part. And then on this side right here, we have, with the pretty purple blooms, we have our yard long beans, and they're doing really, really well. And then the bush beans towards the end, we have our black turtle beans here, our first, and then we have 4 rows of, at the end, of a tenderette green bush bean. And on the very end of that is a lone zinnia plant that it just was kind of a surprise. End of this row, we have 3 onion plants, and then we also have about 5 or 6 sweet potato plants. Then we have our Red Ripper cowpeas that we've grown for years and years and years. We did lose our seed that we'd saved back through all of the getting sprayed and drought and all that, so we had to start over again. We started over with Southern Exposure Seed Exchange with Red Rippers, which that is the pea that we had grown before. Absolutely love this cowpea. It is so versatile, so good. It's good eating. It's good as a snap pea, like you would do snap green beans, and it's good if you allow it to dry out and be a shell bean as well. And then beyond it, we have some I forgot the name of that bean. We got it from Buffalo Seed Company. It is a cowpea as well, and they were a variegated cowpea. There was lots of different peas in the mix there. It was like a mix pea. It was a landrace pea, one that they have developed there at Buffalo Seed Company. And on the other side of that, which you can't see yet, but we'll get a shot of when we go around, is Grandpa Cargill's okra, and then I have 3 pepper plants in pots back there. These rows here, we have several rows, like his hills, several hills of our corn and pole beans and some pumpkins. So this is our Three Sisters part of the garden. And in this first part here, you can see the really tall plants. Those are our Cargill red corn. And on the Cargill red corn is our Cherokee Trail of Tears beans. And then amongst them, you can see some pumpkin plants. We'll go around on the other side and get another look too, is our Cherokee Tan pumpkins. So there's one small hill there. This guy's not doing as fast, growing as fast, but he is in the shade all day long. So he's just not growing quite as fast as the others. We have fertilized him with some organic fertilizer, and we make sure he gets lots of water. That you can see Gary moved his soaker hose over here, and it's working out really, really well. But like I said, these rows here, even the short one that is in full shade all the time, are our Cargill red corn. And you can really see the difference from the heavily shaded area to the areas that get more to full sun. Row, we have onions and purple mustard. Almost said purple cabbage. Purple mustard. And the mustard's coming along a little slow, which is fine. So we're doing really good here. Watermelons. And that's Gary's babies there. He loves watermelons. And with the cowpeas, there's our Grandpa Cargill okra here. It's good, a little bit behind. We had to replant it. And then we have 3 peppers in pots here. There's a pepper in each pot. And I'm not sure what variety they are, and my tag has weathered off, so I don't know. So that'll be a surprise when they bloom and give us peppers. We'll know what they are. In these 2 black pots, I had Craig's Grande jalapenos. An army worm got in and ate every one of my pepper plants that was in this black pot here, in the far black pot. And so I just collected some pots in there so they wouldn't blow away. And so I have 2 left in this out of 3 in this first one. And that'll be enough for Gary and I to make salsa and stuff with. I will have to purchase some jalapenos to make pickled jalapenos, but it'll be all right. In this row here, we have several different varieties of tomato plants. This row of tomatoes have been severely stressed. It's been very difficult to keep them watered, and they have really shown stress, but have grown and shined through anyway. And within them, we have some different varieties of sweet peppers. There's some Jaworskis, as well as some yellow banana and bell peppers in the mix there. Then this row here, we have sweet peppers and Jaworski peppers at the first, and then bell peppers towards the end of the row, and as well as our purple basil. I love purple basil. I get that purple basil from Baker Creek. A lot of times, I'm not sure about this seed package, but a lot of times they give it out as a gift, and it is absolutely amazing. And then these big squash plants, those are Gary's Georgia Candy Roasters. And within those Georgia Candy Roasters are some more sweet potatoes. And the sweet potato vines are doing really well. But those Georgia Candy Roasters are taking off in this heat. Sunflowers, and there's giant sunflowers and different varieties of sunflowers, just kind of a mix. And towards the end of it, we've got our trellis. And on that trellis, we have a bean from Baker Creek, and I forgot the name of it. But anyway, it's a pole bean. It's got these gorgeous reddish orange blooms on them. Let's see if we can get a shot of those blooms. We'll zoom in. See those gorgeous red blooms? And they make a big black bean, but it says, the directions say to eat them as a green bean. We don't have any green beans on there yet, but I'm really excited. This next row, we have a row of peppers and some more basil. We use a lot of basil in our cooking. I love to dehydrate basil, so we have plenty of basil, and it's supposed to deter some of the pests that like to attack the peppers. And as you can see, some of our pepper plants are doing fabulous. We've got a few very small pepper plants that were ones we started and then got in late, and they're struggling, but we're getting some. But yeah, got these beautiful basil plants here beside that pepper plant. Doing well, doing very well. And then kind of as an odd add-on here, we have a tomato plant behind it as a pepper plant. And then kind of along the back there, and we'll go over there and look, we have our eggplants, which did not fare very well. We got flea beetles really bad, and they ate them down to stubs. And we did have to use some of the Sevin Dust on them and get those flea beetles taken care of. They had not started to fruit yet, so we're good there. This row here, our last row in this garden, is our Nebraska Sweets fall squash, and they are super good. They're fall squash. Here's a shot of those eggplants, and I'll just zoom in a bit. See just how sad they are. They look so sad. We did dust them really good with the Sevin Dust to kind of kill those flea beetles back, and they are rebounding, but it is sad and sad and slow. So on the trellis, we have our black coat runner bean. And on the other side, we planted some seed that we'd got from Papa Pepper years ago. It was old seed, hadn't been stored properly, and it was Malabar spinach, and we didn't get much of a germination. I think we have one plant. I'm not quite sure. When we planted it in Kansas several years ago, that was the year we got sprayed and lost everything, and then I've just held on to the seed since then. So I may order some more seed if if Papa Pepper and his family have it available on their Etsy store, I may order some more seed next year. We planted our loofah gourds, and they are behind. They should be much further along than this. We might get some loofahs and we might not, but we're super excited to have them germinated, and they are starting to get their true leaves, and we're super excited about that. So I'll zoom in and get you a couple shot of those. There's a loofah gourd there. There's gourds there. Got one right there, and then one right there. So got a few loofah gourds. Right, in my front flower bed we have Gary's celery, and it's doing really well. We're super pleased with the celery. It's doing great. We have my sweet mint that I got from Gladys at the Richland Farmers Market. And then I got a toothache plant from Yoder Farms Saturday and planted it here in the front garden. We'd put a wildflower mix here, but Saddle had dug it up, so we replanted something different and put in the toothache plant. And then we have our, just past the toothache plant, we have our, let me see if I can zoom in a little better. Yes, right there, that's better. So we have our toothache plant there, and right here we have our stevia, however you say that plant. And then we have a petunia, and then at the end we have a daisy that blooms. Oh, I guess we have two different kinds of daisies, but one blooms like an Indian blanket, and then the one just past it in the very corner blooms white with a purple center. So they are getting ready to bloom again. I'm going to come in with some fertilizer, deadhead those, and then fertilize them really well. They're getting watered well, and they're doing really well in this front flower bed at making the front porch look nice and cozy and beautiful. That finishes up our garden tour. Thank you guys so much for coming along with me this morning and hanging in there with me. It was kind of rough. I'm not sure what's going on, but I struggled this morning to get my words out. But this is our favorite spot right here on this porch, sitting in the glider. And a very dear friend of mine, wonderful YouTube supporter and dear friend Rosie, gave that to me years ago, and a shed that it was hiding in a shed she was having torn down, and she said, hey, could you have a use for this? I put it away. She passed away a little over a year ago. Took me a little while to do that, but in processing the grief and the loss of her, I did refurbish the glider, and it looks great on this front porch. And as you can tell, it's the same color as the bathroom. I went a little bluer to match the bathroom. It originally was definitely much greener of a turquoise, but I think Rosie would be proud and she'd be happy. So thank you guys so much again. Thank you guys so much for coming along with me today. I hope you have a blessed week.